Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 14th of June. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
What is it your mum used to say? It's roasting. And honestly, I took a dog a walk this morning, Derek, as I always do, and that'll be hard for the rest of the day because it is roasting.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody's got their Factor 50 on, especially if you've got a heat like mine. But if you're Seneca built, then you should be all right. But if you're like Derek and I, like a wee gremlin in the sun, then
I
get
can
the
bust.
Factor 50 on. But it's a lovely day. Nice to be talking about Rangers transfer news as well. And we've got a special guest, Derek. So
We do have a special guest. We have one of the stars of A Pint and Two Shots podcast, and also the staunchest guy in Shield Inch. It's the one and only Stephen Purdon. Thank you very much for coming on, Stephen. Great to have you on, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me. Big fan of the show, guys. Big fan.
Superb. No, it's fantastic to get you on and talk all things Rangers. If you want to get your points across, folks, then fire them in the comments. We'll get to as many as possible. Just a quick word, though. Stevie did mention Seneca, and it would be rude not to mention the great work that these guys do to restore guys' heads if you're losing some lost self-confidence and some hair follicles. And these are the guys to call. All their transplants are carried out by doctors, so they know what they're doing. They're a multi-award-winning clinic. And as I've mentioned many times before, all the big names go to these guys, such as Tim Visser, the former Scottish rugby player. So there you go. These, I've bunged the all-important links in the description box, so do go check them out if that is something that you're interested in. Right, guys, think transfer-wise, it looks like Sam Lambert is about to become Michael Beale's fourth signing of the summer. By all accounts, he will undergo a medical this afternoon before signing a 4-year deal. He will arrive from Serie A side Atalanta for a fee I've seen quoted around about £3.5 million. It's a big outlay. I'll get your point first of all, Stephen. Do you know much about him? What have you made of the transfer business so far? Of course, we've got Jack Butland in the door, Dujon Sterling and Kieran Dowell. Now looks like the Sam Lammers as well, the first player to come in where a significant outlay is getting spent on a player. What do you make of it?
I think obviously Butland, we need another goalie in. So I think Butland, obviously, the most consistent time he's played was at Stoke. He's not really played much. But yeah. I think the boy Lammers, I don't know much about him. I've looked up. I think he's the best part he had in his career is maybe when he went on loan to Heerenveen. But I don't really know much about him. I think these kind of players, if we're doing a bit of smart business with free transfers like Butland and Dowell and stuff, I think it's clever, but we need to spend money on a striker. I think obviously we relied so heavily on Morelos. Cholak doesn't seem to fit into Beale's system. Don't know what you're going to get with Roof fitness-wise. So, as I say, I don't know much about the guy, but you need to put your faith in Beale because obviously what he's done in the past so far with Cantwell and Raskin, it's been good business. So hopefully it's more of the same with that.
Stevie, Sam Lammers for you. I think he's someone, there's a comment came in that he's split the fan base. A lot of people looking at his goal return. It's not the greatest. I spoke to a Frankfurt podcaster yesterday, told me when he was on loan there, he's got all the ability in the world, but he was just suffering with a crisis in confidence. Mentally, he was just not with it. It looks like that sort of manifested itself last season against when he was at Empoli and Sampdoria. But there's a player there. Are you excited by this signing?
Well, if he's got, crisis of confidence and stuff like that, then, we're such a forgiving and welcoming fan base that, he should fit right in. So, listen, this is where I am with it completely. Forget the stats, forget everything else. Todd Cantwell, I think, hadn't scored in 2 years when he rocked up. So, forget everything. See if he's good enough for Beale. Then that's the only thing that we need to worry about. Right, Michael Beale's the one that's making the decisions. He's the one that wants it this way. He's the one driving it. He's the one identifying the players he wants. Right, so the worst thing that we can do going into this signing is have a prejudged opinion on the lad before he even comes in the door. He needs to be given an opportunity. It's a decent outlay, 3.5 million, whatever it's going to be, and we just need to give him a chance. From what I've seen of him, he's quite rangy, isn't he? He's got a different kind of style. He's certainly
I've seen somebody say that it sort of likened him to Mikhailchenko. I've not seen much of him, but that was an interesting sort of comparison, I thought.
I mean, that is pretty much, yeah. I mean, I hope he's not got the kind of attitude that Miko had, which was, I'll just kind of turn it on when I'm bothered. I always remember Archie Knox tells a great story about him when they told him to go and warm up because he was just sitting about in the dressing room for a game and he just went over to the hairdryer, put it on himself and said, "That's me ready, boss." So he was that, if that's the type of player he has with the type of skill, we're lucky, but hopefully he'll give it a wee bit more than Mikhailchenko. But I see why people are saying that. That's more my kind of generation. I see why people are saying that because he has got that kind of style of range, but he's definitely skillful. He's not going to be our striker. We're not signing him to be our number 9. He's getting signed to be a 10 and play in between and behind. So I think this is a signing made with what I would say is I'd be extremely surprised if Malik Tillman rocks up now, considering the outlay for this boy in the position that he's going to play. So, he'll be judged on what Malik Tillman did and the numbers and things that he got. So we need the same kind of output. So I'm excited by it. I think there's a wee bit of trepidation there. I think that's fair. But, it's a big signing for us. I'm going to give him as much chance as I would anybody. And hopefully fits in. But I really hope, and to repeat myself, I really hope that people just give him a fair crack of the whip and don't, you don't want it to be the first chance he gets. 10 minutes into a pre-season game, he misses a chance or something happens or he doesn't go into a 50-50 when he's finding his feet and we're all, on caning him on social media and getting on his back already. We need to give these boys time, you know what I mean? And we need to give them a good pre-season, a good start to the season and stuff like that. So, welcome to him. Hopefully the medical and things go well. As Stephen says, I still don't think, I still think there's room for 2 strikers to come in. There's been a lot said about Čolak. I still think Čolak's got a part to play as well. And judging by the comments coming out of the club at the end of the season there, I'm not sure that he's completely for the bin quite yet, unless, money comes in. So it's interesting. But I'm with Stephen, the goals need to come in. Dessers, we think, is there or thereabouts, hopefully soon. So I still think one more. And then they've got another couple of positions they need to fill. But it's a good start. And this is it. I talk about this in my article this week, Derek, actually, for the site about trust in Beale. And, trust is something that's earned by trophies and winning games and stuff like that and winning the big games. Beale hasn't done that yet. But at the same time, he's perhaps had a bit of a broken squad that he's come across. So I think he's done enough to earn enough trust for us just to say, right, if he's good enough for Beale, then let's see how it works out. But I just hope that he gets a fair crack of the whip, give the lad a chance, and hopefully he can turn in some performances.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to a few of the comments that are coming in. Firstly, Ross says, a big Football Manager fan, Stevie, says, Lammers is great on Football Manager. Nothing to worry about, guys. Can you support that statement, Stevie? You're a big Football Manager man?
I can't recall coming across him on Football Manager. So
do you play Football Manager, Stephen?
I used to before I had kids. But I don't remember coming across him either. It's totally not. I don't really know anything about him, even in Football Manager terms.
Glenn McCleary, we do like a bit of comedy in the morning. He says, bring Ronaldo to Rangers. Can't see that one happen myself, guys, but you never know.
The original one, maybe.
I would take R9. I'd take
the
R9.
One and only.
He'd still do a job.
Yeah. Couldn't be any worse than what we had last season up front, that's for sure. But Sam Lammers, folks, if you're just tuning in, that deal should be done and dusted. He will undergo his medical before signing that 4-year deal. Josh Foreman says, didn't know we were watching River City today. What an episode that would be, Stephen.
Well, for watching River City, it'd be good me talking about Rangers for a change, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, how many times have I texted you as well, Stephen, saying it's about time you got me a chance to be like one of those like characters in the background. Extras and all that. I've texted them loads of times saying I'd
definitely going to do it. We start back filming in August. It's going to happen, Stevie. You're going to be in the tall ship, having a beer in the background. Definitely.
Can you imagine, Derek? Honestly.
Class. Oh, absolutely magic. That would be sensational. Right, let's get to a few more of the comments that are coming in here. Lots of support with regards to that Lammers signing. Just John says, I hope Lammers kicks him well. He seems a very technical player and definitely has talent. I have a feeling Michael Beale won't be using him as an out-and-out striker. Of course, the other player that's been heavily linked is Cyril Dessers of Cremonese, the Nigerian international, formerly of the likes of Feyenoord, has played in Holland, and Genk also in Belgium as well. He's another player, that one moving along. Stevie mentioned Malik Tillman there. The longer this goes on where there's no movement, I reckon it's less likely that he'll be pitching up at Ibrox next season. By all accounts, we all know that Bayern Munich, there's a right to buy there of £5 million. I think they have the option to buy him back if he does well. If he does well at Rangers for £10 million, but it's up to the player at the end of the day. I don't have much hope that he sees his future at Ibrox next season. What's your viewpoint on that one?
Like Stevie said a minute ago, like if the outlay for Lammers, £3.5 million, were linked with the other boys well, I don't see it happening. I think if it was going to happen, the option was there. I think it would have been triggered instantly. I think if the boy wanted to come and we were going to take him, but I don't see us paying £5 million from now. I don't. I just, like you say, it's down to the player. And I think if the player really wanted to come, I think he'd be here by now. So I can't see it happening.
Yeah. We've talked at length, Steve, about this, haven't we? I know you're bored to tears about talking about it. It seems to be every show now we're on talking about Malik Tillman, but I can't see it. I think I would be surprised if he was to pitch up at Ibrox next season. I know when I was on yesterday speaking to Ewan and Joshua, of course, Rangers looking for £5 million for Glenn Kamara. If they get that, then money spent would be on Tillman. It doesn't seem that bad really in terms of the budget, but I just can't see it happen. I don't think that the player would fancy coming. By all accounts, we hear that Brighton and Brentford are interested in taking him down south. If you're Malik Tillman and you know that there's EPL sides interested in you, I don't blame him for holding out for those options. What's your viewpoint on that one?
See if we get $5 million for Glenn Kamara.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that's a lottery win, by the way. So that would be fantastic. First of all, second of all, Malik Tillman. It's the same thing as I've said, and Stephen summed it up really nicely. If he wanted to be here by now, he would be here. And I don't want anybody coming to Rangers at the end of a summer window as Rangers being their backup plan.
Yeah.
I don't think that suits anyone. If it was going to be done, it would be done by now, I think. And he would have been the kind of paper signing of the summer. The fact that we're forking out money elsewhere, $4 million odd for Dessers if it comes around, $3.5 million for Lammers. You've still got a centre back to come in. You've maybe still got a right side to come in. So that money's been kind of allocated, I think. And I don't see Tillman coming in. So listen, I think we went round the houses with this one. I think Stephen's point is bang on. If he wanted to be here, he would be here.
Yeah.
I don't wish him any ills. If he ends up at Brighton, then I'll get Billy to clip his ear. But aside of that, I don't wish him any ill. He came, he done a job. He's entitled to explore his options and go elsewhere if he wants. But it is what it is, Derek. I think we've said everything on it.
Yeah. Let's get to the interesting comment. James Strachan looking to become a member. This new membership scheme we've launched, folks. He stuffed up his comment earlier. I didn't say I was a member. Does anyone have any advice what I've done wrong? It said I was successful. Help, please, Bears. You should have an option, James, a join button on the homepage on the desktop version of YouTube. If you've got an Android or an iPhone, then if you look on YouTube, there is a sort of self-help video how to get the desktop version up on your phone. If you click join, then you can join up for $2.99 a month. What you do is you'll get extra videos, extra content for that during the week, priority comments and what have you as well. So let us know how you get on with that. It's pretty easy to do. If you've got a laptop or a tablet or something, it should come up on that homepage. If you've got a phone, an iPhone or an Android, as I say, if you look at YouTube, there's a self-help video to get the desktop version on your phone. Then you can sign up that way. Interesting comment here, Stephen, from Kenny. He says, does Hagi still have a place in this squad, or is it a good time to cash in? He's another one that splits opinion, isn't he? Ianis Hagi, I think prior to his injury, he was sort of hit and miss in terms of form, but we know what he can do. Since he's came back, he spoke himself about struggling to reach the fitness levels that the other players were at. It was difficult. Of course, he came back at the tail end of January and was playing catch-up. Does Hagi have a part to play next season, Stephen, do you reckon?
I'm 50-50 with this one. The year we won the league, I know he was still kind of hot and cold, Hagi, but I think everybody goes on about numbers. In his numbers, his assists and stuff were pretty high. He's for me, Hagi gives you that little bit of something different. He's got all the ability in the world.
Yep.
But it's always the old argument, is he going to be the same player? We've seen towards the end of the season how long it took for him to get back up to speed. I still don't think he got anywhere near up to speed towards the end of the season. And it's the same kind of thing with Tom Lawrence. These players that are out for so long, I don't know. If the right money comes in, with these players we're bringing in, you're going to have to let people go. You need to get a return on some players as well. And I think Hagi maybe falls into that bracket that you could get some sort of return on him. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near 5 million for Glenn Kamara. I think, I don't know. I'm 50-50 with it. I was always a fan of Hagi, but there was a lot of games where I thought, with all that ability he's got, he was still just on the outskirts of games at times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I'm on the fence as well, Stevie. I've got to say, I think if an offer would come in that's tempting, I think it's one that I'm sure the board would have to look at. They are packed in that area, aren't they, Stevie? I mean, does Ianis have a part to play? He talks, loves hearing him speak about football. He's got a mature head on young shoulders, but the cold, light-hearted day, can he deliver consistently for Rangers? What's your gut feeling on that one? Oh, you're on mute, Stevie.
Oh, sorry, I coughed.
There we go.
I forgot I got myself on mute. I said no, and if the money was right, then I would sell. So, as harsh as that might be, I think look, you know what? A pre-season under Beale and stuff like that might change everything for Ianis Hagi. But that type of injury, the way he looked, you know, it's a lot to work back from. We're always going to make money on Hagi's name. You get 5 million for Hagi and get 5 million for Kamara. You know, you're winning there. You're winning completely. So if Lambert is coming in, he's going to take that position as well. Young Alex Lowry has still got a part to play. But yeah, I mean, if the money's right and the money's there, then I'd be tempted, and I'd tend to go towards selling. I think that's fair. He certainly doesn't have a starting position at the moment, and he's working his way into the squad. So can you really afford to have somebody that's in and about it like that? Maybe not starting, etc. I'm not sure we can. So I would love nothing more than Ianis Hagi to get those numbers and get back to the way he was during that kind of title running season. The difference between those teams, if you look at last season, the season before, is Ianis Hagi and Kemar Roof's numbers. That was the difference that league season. You know, the amount of goals and numbers they pitched in with. I think they were both in the region of like kind of 30 goals and assist involvements each, round about, say, 25 to 30. So, and see that comment there, short memories when it comes to Hagi. I think we've said that. I think we're saying that that's fair, and we are saying that.
I think both of you actually said that there, I think both of you
it's also 2 years ago as well, so there's a long time since the title-winning season. I don't think we've forgotten that. So I think it's just a case of where we are now as well, and maybe we need to think about when's the right time to cash in on players, which we haven't done properly, argumentally, maybe on a couple of occasions, and we've seen them walk out the door this summer. So if money's there for Ianis Hagi, £4 or £5 million, whatever they might come in with, I think we would be very naive as a club not to seriously look at that and consider it, especially given the manner, as Stephen says, that's a really difficult injury to recover from. How many times have we seen players in the past get injuries like that and never come back to really where we want them to be? So Ianis Hagi's a bit of a conundrum this summer. If that money's right, then I'm selling, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. A few comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. David Kerr tuning in all the way from hospital after his surgery. Good to have your company, David. Hopefully it all went well. Kev Armstrong just harping back to what part you'd play in River City. Stevie says, what part does Stevie want in River City? Taxi driver, customer in the pub. What's your dream role, Stevie?
I think I made it quite clear to Stephen that I would take any position possible. So, I'm not picky, you know what I mean? So I think I would play the part of some sort of, moody guy in the pub. You know what I mean? In the background of the pub, looking upset about something. I would
just the normal then.
Aye, well, that's normal for me. So I wouldn't even have
that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So when we go back, it's happening. It's happening.
You know what I mean? So that would be that. But yeah, Derek, having now conquered the world of hosting events and stuff like that, let's get into the acting world and conquer that as well.
Yeah, you just need to remember to keep your mic on, then all will be good. So, let's crack on. A few comments coming in. Francis said, just on Hagi, I'd keep Hagi as one of the very few players who play for the love of the game. He will come into his form again after a good pre-season, she says. And Jeep, good morning, Jeep. Good to have you on board. When Hagi played well, he was good, but he was never great. Time to move on. Yeah, I sort of agree with that. I think it may be time for him to head for pastures new. Certainly for Glenn Kamara, I think his comments a couple of days ago suggest, when he was speaking about Rangers in the past tense as well, that he is looking to move on. I think that's best for both parties, both Rangers and Glenn Kamara as well. Just deviating slightly away from the transfer news. Other news affecting Rangers yesterday, guys, is that the Rangers Museum opening date was announced Monday, July the 31st is when it will open to customers. It will be the centrepiece of the newly refurbed Edmiston House, of course. It will showcase the illustrious history of the club, telling the story of the wider Govan and Glasgow area. Priority access, we're told, will be available to Edmiston House supporters package members. But it's great to see this is finally going to open soon, Stephen. This is something I think we've been crying out for years and years. Edmiston House, and it's on its own, I think, is something that the punters have been crying out for some time. But a museum especially will be fantastic when that opens up, won't it?
I think it's great. I mean, when I take my son down to Manchester, Liverpool, all these places, he wants to see all these stadiums. You go down there. Rangers fall into the same bracket as those clubs. It's an institution, the history we've got. I think having something like that, if I'm taking my son to the game, you've got Edmiston House, if you get a museum there, it's something, in my opinion, should have been there a long time ago. It's great for the club, and a team like Rangers need something like that at the stadium because it should have it.
Yeah, totally agree. Like Stephen says, Stevie, I mean, I go to a good number of clubs down south, and the fan experience is second to none. It's good to see that Rangers have acknowledged that. They've got Edmiston House up and running, and this, I think, will be magnificent when it opens up. I cannot wait to go.
I'm actually quite fortunate that the stadium curator, Joe Morrison, went to school with me. Joe's a couple of years below me, so I know Joe, and I've known Joe for a really long time. So I've spent the last couple of years popping in and out of his wee room. He's got Ibrox, which is like a treasure chest of memorabilia and all sorts. So I actually have seen a few of the new interactive things and stuff that they're going to be doing in the museum, and I think it's highly impressive. I'm like Stephen, I've done the tour of Old Trafford and the museum down there and that, and it's absolutely fabulous. But what I like about Rangers is that they've went to these places. They think they've taken the best bits from it and kind of merged that into our story. So there'll be all the audio kind of walk rounds and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of it, you've got a wee Rangers shop as well to buy your kind of stuff. So I think that it's going to work quite well. I think it's a decent size. See, to be honest, with the history we've got, Edmiston House alone could have been the museum for Rangers, given the amount of stories that we could tell, about what's went on in our history, past and very recent. So I'm looking forward to it being open. I think it'll be a great attraction. And like Stephen said as well, something else that's important, what Rangers are trying to do, now you've got the museum, sports bars coming, you've got Edmiston House there. It's now becoming a proper tourist attraction when you go to Ibrox. Like, seeing days when there's no match days and things, you're now going to get the tour bus, the Glasgow tour bus, the red tour bus that goes round. It'll now stop at Ibrox, and people will be able to jump off and on that. So
Brilliant.
I think the club are doing all the right things, Derek. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
tenner a time or whatever it's going to be to get into the museum. Hopefully it generates a lot of money and gets a lot of traffic through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Few comments coming in. Some directed it at you, Stephen. That this one, I cannot see this for the life of me. Have you ever been compared to the snooker legend Stephen Hendry? Says, is that Stephen Hendry on the bottom? Ian says, I don't know if he's been having a few whiskies this morning, Ian, but is that something you've ever been likened to?
I don't know if this was the same guy that said that. I was at a night out with Jordan Young, Scott Fletcher. We went to see Ricky Gervais, and
Wow,
I put
blast.
a photograph on of myself. And now you take these selfies. It wasn't the best selfie, but I'm no vain. No, I mean, I just put it out there.
Yep.
And somebody said, "You're just a fat Stephen Hendry." So that's the only time I've been compared to Stephen Hendry.
Nobody was that you that posted that, but yeah, I can't see it myself. But yeah, there's worse people to be likened to, that's for sure. But a fat Stephen Hendry, there you go, fantastic. Matt also directs a question to you, Stephen. If there was a player from any Rangers era you could sign for Rangers, who would it be and why? They're putting you on the spot there.
Brian Laudrup.
Aye.
Brian Laudrup.
God, imagine him in this Rangers team. Wow. He could still play, I think.
Probably could. He was the one when I was younger. I just used to, my dad used to take me to Ibrox and I was just obsessed with the guy. Yeah. For me, he was total superstar. Such a big guy, but so light on his feet, could just glide past players, and he was just, hated the way his time ended at Rangers, though. I think he could have stayed on and played another couple of seasons. But Brian Laudrup, or obviously Alan McCoist.
Yeah, Super Ali was absolutely superb. And I seen you liked one of your old TikToks during the week, so good to see Ali keeping up to date with the Rangers news on TikTok. Absolutely superb. Another story that hit the news yesterday in regard to Rangers. Pretty bizarre story, Stevie. World's Greatest DJ says Dave King back in the news yesterday. Delighted to hear he's backing the new board. This caught me and many supporters by surprise, it's fair to say, when he was linked with forming a partnership with the Easdale brothers to make a bid for control at Ibrox. It was suggested that the Greenock businessman will have around 20 million shares in Ara FC PLC returned to them following a court order. That was then bizarrely claimed that King and the Easdales, who were forced out of Ibrox, of course, following regime change back in 2015, could work together to attempt a boardroom coup alongside unnamed American investors. But King has come out speaking to our very own Chris Jack. He says he's 100% behind John Bennett and James Bisgrove. He said, I've no idea whatsoever if the so-called Easdale shares have been released by a court order. I was the one who had them blocked and cannot conceive of a good reason why this could be overturned by a court. What I can say emphatically is that I've had no discussions with the Easdales for many years, and they have made no attempt to contact me. They know what I would never enter into. They know that I would never enter into an alliance with them. Bizarre story, Stevie, wasn't it? I'm glad to see it was knocked on the head, pretty sharpish.
It was actually a bit of a nothing story, to be honest. See, if you think about, I commented on here probably about 6, 7, 8 weeks ago. We had a meeting at Ibrox with Bennett and Bisgrove and stuff like that, just outlining a few things, talking about media strategies and things like that, Derek, if you remember. Johnny was also there, so was Joshua. There was a big group of people there. In that, they said that the relationship with King was really good and working. You know, Dave King was really pleased with the changes and he was happy to put his weight kind of behind the changes that were made and how the club are progressing. King didn't like the Parks, right? I think that's fine. The Parks didn't like him, and whatever happened there, which we don't really need to go into.
Yeah.
Once he left, that problems kind of went away. The issue I've got with Dave King is not Dave King and the job that he's done. The issue I've got is that the little bit that was in the end of that article, which then quickly got pulled, when he talks about, you know, Parks having gotten rid of Gerrard and stuff like that. Why is there a need every time Dave King speaks for it to be controversial or you know, and to attract attention? That's the bit that upsets me. I'm delighted that he comes out and says that he's got nothing to do with them and it quickly knocks it down. So that's great work, you know, by Chris again to do that. But I would just, part of me wishes that Dave would just, keep it simple, get behind the current structure and not have to say something controversial every time it goes on. Not having a pop at him because of everything he's done for the club. I'm a huge fan of his. I've spoken to him many times, but some of the comments are unneeded. When he talks about Parks removing Gerrard and all that kind of stuff, everybody knows what happened in that summer. But let's not forget, Dave King walked out on a whole load of liabilities. He basically said, let's go and get Ryan Kent, and then went, right, now you have to pay for it. I'm off. So let's not reinvent what went on here in the summer and stuff. There's a whole lot of category, people that fall into making mistakes and stuff like that. And it kind of irks me that every time Dave King speaks, the narrative of it behind it changes. Now, I know that'll be controversial for people, and I'm not slating Dave King. I'm not saying anything against him because he's done wonderful things for the club and he's put his money in and all that. I get it. But just keep it simple. Just come out and say, no, I've got nothing to do with it. 100% behind the club. The little add-ons and that aren't needed, especially at a time where we're all excited about the future. We're excited about the changes. We're excited about players that are coming in. Just keep it at that.
Yeah.
He loves a soundbite. He loves a soundbite. Dave King, like you say, Stevie, every time he says something, it's always fine. It sounds good, but he just loves a soundbite all the time.
Do you think anything I said there is unfair? It's just frustrating.
No, I know what you're saying. I mean, we can always be grateful to Dave King, and I would never slag Dave King either, but there's always a sensational soundbite at the end of anything he's commenting on, which I think it always seems to hit the press harder than the actual subject he's talking about. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. You see the supporter reaction. It's most of it, they would rather do without it and just concentrate on the on-field matters, don't they? So, was it an interesting story yesterday? In terms of, off the pitch, Stephen, of course, new chairman in place, James Bisgrove, with the chief exec. You're quite optimistic, excited for the future ahead about what can unfold?
Very, very optimistic. I've spoke to James Bisgrove a couple of times over the last few months, like being at the Legends weekend and stuff and doing a couple of things at Edmiston House. And for me, he strikes me as a very driven, switched on individual. And I don't know if maybe he should have been in there quicker, sooner, from what I hear, the way he talks and stuff. And with John Bennett there, I think there's a lot more clarity. And I think, like Stevie was saying earlier, we're all pretty optimistic about the future of the club. Behind the scenes, everything seems to be getting the houses in order and stuff. So I'm very happy with the appointment of Bennett and Bisgrove.
Yeah. We'll just wrap up. Denzo, a few others just commenting on another player that's been linked. Josh Maja says, what are we thinking about Maja? I think we touched on him. I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before. Of course, Bordeaux they had a match that was abandoned. The governing body over in France deemed that it would not get replayed. So Metz got promoted to Ligue 1. That means that Josh Maja is now a free agent. However, Bordeaux are appealing that decision, so it may rumble on. He is a player that's been heavily linked to Rangers, Stevie. He's a player, I've got to say, I would welcome at Ibrox. I think he's one that would excite the supporters, especially if he's coming in for zero outlay apart from wages. If you're bringing in Dessers and Lammers, though, is there room for Maja as well? Or maybe see the likes of Sakala, Cholak or Roof depart?
Do you know what? I don't know. I think this will rumble on quite a wee bit. So he's going to be caught up in red tape. And then do you take him and find out further down the line that Bordeaux then want £3 million for him, which we don't need to. We love a court date, right enough, Derek. So that might be even more attractive to us. So I think we'd maybe just avoid that situation. But by the way, he's a decent player, goal scorer and things. I think, see, all going well, if you gave me the opportunity and it was all cleared up and everything else, would you take Josh Maja? The answer would probably be aye. So I think that's maybe one that you might see if there's a proper interest in there, and I'm not even sure there is. So if there's a proper interest, that might be further towards the end of the window once all this is cleared up. Maybe if Cholak then left, would you get Maja in and stuff like that? So I think that's still, I think that might be longer to run than what. But that's me, and make that clear, that's me guessing. I don't know if there's any interest in this lad at all, or anything like that. But he's got quite cool hair, hasn't he, Derek? So I always think that's quite good. Like, get all the guys in that have got a good head of hair. You know what I mean?
I wonder if Seneca do Josh Maja's if you go and ask for one of them, Stevie. If that's
Seneca won't reply to my
menu.
emails. I've told you, mate. I've emailed them every single day for about 6 months, and they won't reply. So, yeah, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, Josh Maja's good in Football Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Is he?
I've had Josh Maja in Football Manager. So before Ross comes up and says it, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely superb. Right, I think that'll do us here, folks. Before we go, we're speaking off air before we came on. Stevie, you touched on it was what your kids' sports day recently, and there was a dad's race, but you cried injury. You pulled out, but Stephen, your kids' sports day then on Friday. Is it a dad's race?
There's a dad race. My daughter is in P6, my son's in P4, and I've won the dad race every single year apart from last year. So it's on this Friday, yes. If you want to come down and see it, you know what I mean? It's got to be a big race, you know what I mean?
What is it? Is it just a flat out?
Just a flat out
race?
sprint, yes. And
wow,
there was a dad, Ian, that beat me last year. I don't know where he's been for the last few years because he's never run like that before, but he was rapid last year. So I'm looking forward to it on Friday.
Well, we wish you all the best. Hopefully you can reclaim your rightful title, Stephen. But it's been great having you on. Don't be a stranger. Come back on. But we loved having you on.
Anytime, guys. I'm free till August, man. Anytime you want.
Yes, same time tomorrow then.
Anytime, mate.
Right, thanks to everyone for interacting with the show. Big thanks to Stevie and Stephen as well. Just a reminder, folks, if you want to become a member to the YouTube channel, £2.99 a month. You get loads more content on there. Martin rightly says that only members' content is spot on. Well worth it getting signed up, fellow Bears. So thanks for your kind words, Martin. We'll be back again tomorrow, but until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.